The galactic hegemony, the dominant ruling force of the known universe, was a coalition of vast, ancient alien civilizations. With fleets numbering in the trillions and technology so advanced that some of it bordered on magic, no species had ever successfully resisted its rule. Any planet that dared oppose it was swiftly crushed. Then came Earth. It wasn't even on the hegemony's radar at first. Humanity had only just discovered faster-than-light travel, and their military was laughable compared to the galaxy's superpowers. But when a rogue hegemony patrol stumbled upon the Sol system, everything changed. ####a grave mistake. The patrol, an arrogant force of the Vishari Dominion, one of the hegemony's most militaristic species, demanded Earth's surrender. They claimed dominion over every planet they deemed strategically significant. To them, Earth was a backwater world, barely worth the effort, but its position near a crucial hyperspace lane made it a convenient acquisition. The United Earth government, to its credit, attempted diplomacy. A delegation was sent to negotiate. The Vishari, towering reptilian warriors clad in shimmering battle armor, sneered at the humans' efforts. When Earth's leaders refused to submit, the Vishari commander did what had always worked before: he executed the entire delegation on a live galactic broadcast. It was supposed to be a warning. Instead, it lit the fuse of defiance. #### the first strike. The Vishari expected immediate surrender. Instead, they got war. The first battle took place on Luna, where a small but determined human fleet ambushed the Vishari warships. Despite inferior firepower, humanity fought with a level of cunning the hegemony hadn't anticipated. Using guerrilla tactics in space, asteroid slingshot maneuvers, EMP traps, and boarding parties wielding repurposed mining lasers, human forces disabled and captured several enemy ships. The biggest shock came when humans reverse-engineered the Vishari technology in record time. Within days, Earth's scientists and engineers had adapted alien weapons to human ships. The first human-Vishari hybrid warships were christened, and the war escalated. #### the galaxy watches. The news of a primitive species fighting back spread like wildfire across the galactic network. Many in the hegemony dismissed it as an annoyance, something the Vishari would crush in due time. Others, especially the oppressed species under hegemony rule, saw something else: hope. The war had begun. The United Earth government knew that their survival depended on striking hard and fast. The Vishari Dominion would not tolerate resistance, and soon, the full weight of their war machine would descend upon the Sol system. Humanity needed an advantage, one that could turn this fight from a desperate defense into an actual war for survival. They found it in the wreckage of the enemy's own ships. #### reverse engineering the enemy. Within days of the first battle, Earth's best minds dissected the captured Vishari warships. Scientists, engineers, and even civilian hackers worked tirelessly, operating in underground bunkers and orbital research stations. What they found shocked them. The Vishari's technology was sophisticated, but it was old. Their ships were built on millennia of tradition rather than innovation. They relied on sheer brute force and overwhelming numbers, because they never had to evolve. No species had ever fought back long enough to force them to. Humanity, however, thrived on innovation. Within a week, human warships had integrated stolen Vishari shield generators, upgraded their targeting systems, and adapted alien energy weapons to work alongside their own ballistic arsenals. But even with this technological boost, humanity was still vastly outnumbered. They needed something more than just better weapons. They needed strategy. #### a trap at Proxima Centauri. When the Vishari High Command received word that the first patrol had been wiped out, they reacted with expected arrogance. A single battlecruiser, the Blood Fong, was dispatched to clean up the mess. Humanity turned this into an opportunity. Instead of fighting the Blood Fong head-on, Earth's forces orchestrated a trap. They lured the battlecruiser to Proxima Centauri with a fake distress signal, making it seem as if a rogue human vessel was damaged and easy prey. When the Blood Fong arrived, its scanners found a single, limping Earth frigate. The Vishari captain, contemptuous of human resistance, ordered an immediate attack. That was when the asteroids came alive. Hidden among the space debris were dozens of human warships, their heat signatures masked to appear as part of the asteroid belt. The moment the Blood Fang engaged the bait, human forces sprang the trap. Swarms of smaller vessels zipped through the asteroid field, using their maneuverability to evade the battlecruiser's heavy cannons. They struck smart, targeting weak points, overwhelming shield nodes, and hacking into the ship's systems mid-battle. What the Vishari lacked in adaptability, humanity had in abundance. Within hours, the Blood Fang was crippled. Instead of destroying it, Earth's forces did something no one had ever done before. They captured it. #### turning the tide. The fall of the Blood Fang sent shockwaves through the galaxy. No civilization had ever stolen a hegemony capital ship before. Humanity didn't just fight back, they won. The implications were massive. 1. The Vishari, for the first time in centuries, were humiliated. 2. The hegemony began taking Earth seriously. 3. Rebellions across other occupied worlds began to stir. And, most importantly, 4. Humanity had just acquired an entire working Vishari battlecruiser, filled with classified military data. With the Blood Fang in their hands, Earth now had a blueprint to wage war on the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. The Underdog had drawn first blood. The capture of the Blood Fang was more than just a victory, it was a message. For the first time in history, an inferior species had not only resisted the hegemony but outplayed them. Across the galaxy, whispers of Earth's defiance spread. Enslaved species began daring to hope. Rebellions in the shadows suddenly found a banner to rally behind. But the Vishari were not about to let this stand. #### The hegemony's response. The loss of the Blood Fang enraged the hegemony. The Vishari Dominion, humiliated before their peers, demanded an immediate and overwhelming response. The Hegemony Council agreed. A full fleet was dispatched to Earth, **50 warships***, each one larger and more powerful than anything humanity had. The goal was simple: exterminate the upstart species before their defiance could spread. The fleet's commander, Warlord Zalvator, addressed the hegemony in a broadcast. "We will burn their world, silence their defiance, and remind this galaxy why no one resists the will of the hegemony." But what neither Zalvator nor the hegemony understood was that this was exactly what humanity wanted. #### The Shadow Network. In the weeks following the Blood Fang's capture, Earth had done something no species had ever attempted before: hacked the hegemony's systems. Using the battlecruiser's internal data cores, human cyber warfare experts gained access to hegemony communications, tactical logs, and supply routes. They learned how the enemy thought, how they moved their fleets, how they structured their invasions. And most importantly, they learned how to turn the hegemony against itself. Human intelligence operatives, working with a growing underground network of alien resistance groups, began leaking false information into the hegemony's databases. Reports of rebellions in other sectors were fabricated. Fake distress signals were transmitted from hegemony-controlled worlds. Entire supply chains were rerouted into deep space, vanishing into the void. And the best part? The hegemony had no idea who was responsible. #### The battle for Earth begins. Despite these disruptions, Warlord Zalvator's fleet arrived in Seoul, expecting an easy conquest. His strategy was simple: bombard Earth's defenses from orbit, then deploy shock troopers to wipe out the survivors. But humanity was not going to fight on the enemy's terms. As the Vishari fleet entered Earth's orbit, they discovered something strange: Earth's entire fleet was gone. Only a handful of outdated defense platforms remained, barely operational. The planet looked defenseless. Arrogance blinded the enemy once more. Zalvator ordered his warships to spread out and prepare for orbital bombardment. That was when humanity sprang the trap. From the shadows of Saturn's rings, Earth's fleet emerged. Using their newly acquired cloaking technology, adapted from Vashari stealth protocols, humanity had hidden its entire armada. The moment the enemy fleet was scattered, human warships pounced. EMP blasts disabled targeting systems. Hackers remotely shut down engines. Boarding parties, wielding repurposed construction exosuits, ripped into enemy vessels, turning their own corridors into war zones. The first 5 Vashari warships were taken before the enemy even understood what was happening. ###The turning point. Warlord Zalvader, enraged, ordered a full retreat, but the moment his ships turned, they realized the truth. The hegemony's own hyperspace gates had been sabotaged. They were trapped. Human warships, armed with stolen technology, rained fire on the now vulnerable enemy fleet. One by one, the once mighty warships fell. Zalvader, refusing to surrender, attempted to ram Earth's flagship in a final act of defiance, only to be blasted out of the sky by his own captured battlecruiser, the Bloodfawn. The invasion fleet had been annihilated. ###The galaxy reacts. The impossible had happened. Earth had defeated a full hegemony armada. The galaxy erupted in chaos. Across occupied worlds, rebellions that had been crushed for centuries exploded overnight. Hegemony officials panicked as their rule began to fracture. And for the first time in history, a single message, transmitted from Earth, echoed across the stars. To all who suffer under the hegemony, you are not alone. Resistance is not futile. We are proof. Humanity had done the impossible. And the war was only just beginning. The destruction of Warlord Zalvader's fleet sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The hegemony had ruled for millennia with an iron fist, crushing any hint of defiance. But now? A backwater species, one that had only recently achieved interstellar travel, had annihilated an invasion fleet and stolen enemy warships. The illusion of the hegemony's invincibility was shattered. And across the galaxy, the oppressed took notice. ###The fracturing of the hegemony. For the first time in centuries, the hegemony wasn't unified. The Vashari Dominion, humiliated and enraged, demanded that the full might of the hegemony be unleashed upon Earth. Burn them to the last atom, their leaders growled. But the other hegemony members hesitated. The ruling council, composed of dozens of powerful species, began to doubt the Vashari's strength. If a species as primitive as humanity could defeat them, perhaps the Vashari weren't as strong as they claimed. And worse, the hegemony was already starting to splinter. Across dozens of worlds, resistance movements erupted into open rebellion. Inspired by Earth's victory, species that had been crushed under the hegemony's rule for generations now fought back. Slave labor colonies rioted. Civilian supply lines collapsed. Entire planets, once thought loyal, declared independence. The hegemony was used to fighting one war at a time. Now, it was facing hundreds. ###Earth becomes a symbol. As chaos spread, Earth became more than just a planet, it became a symbol. Humanity knew that if they simply waited, the hegemony would eventually regroup and send an even larger armada to crush them. So instead of waiting for the hammer to fall, they became the hammer. Using their captured hegemony warships, humanity did something unthinkable. They went on the offensive. Small, elite strike teams, humans and alien rebels alike, began launching hit-and-run raids across the galaxy. They didn't attack military installations directly. Instead, they crippled the infrastructure that kept the hegemony running. Sabotaging fuel depots. Hijacking hegemony supply ships. Disrupting hyperspace communication relays. Leaking classified information to resistance cells. With each strike, the hegemony's grip on the galaxy weakened. And that's when the real shockwave hit. ###The defection of Admiral Tal. Admiral Tal was a legend within the hegemony, a brilliant strategist from the Zalari species, known for his cold, calculating mind. He had led countless successful campaigns, crushing insurrections with ruthless efficiency. But even he saw the writing on the wall. humanity wasn't just fighting, they were winning. So when an Earth-aligned resistance group reached out to him with an offer, he did the unthinkable. He defected. Bringing with him a treasure trove of intelligence, Tal delivered Earth something more valuable than any fleet, knowledge. He revealed hegemony internal weaknesses. He provided coordinates of vulnerable strategic locations. He exposed infighting within the ruling council. And most importantly, he revealed the location of the hegemony's central command hub, a space station known as Zereth Prime. The plan to strike at the heart. With this information, humanity saw an opportunity. If Zereth Prime fell, the entire hegemony would be thrown into even greater chaos. It was more than just a command center, it was a symbol of the hegemony's power. Taking it would be nearly impossible. Which meant it was exactly the kind of mission humanity thrived on. The United Earth government, alongside a growing alliance of rebel species, devised an audacious plan. 1. A massive feint, a fake rebellion in another sector would lure the hegemony's remaining fleets away from Zereth Prime. 2. A covert infiltration team, special forces would breach the station from the inside, using stolen hegemony access codes provided by Tal. 3. A full-scale planetary uprising, as the station was under siege, resistance forces across hegemony space would launch simultaneous uprisings, pushing the hegemony's forces into disarray. The final phase of the plan? Broadcast Earth's message of defiance, live from the heart of the hegemony itself. The battle for Zereth Prime was coming. And with it, the chance to change the fate of the galaxy forever. The plan was bold. Reckless. Some even called it suicidal. But that was exactly why it would work. If humanity had learned anything from its history, it was this: empires fall not when their armies are defeated, but when their people lose faith in them. By striking Zereth Prime, the beating heart of the hegemony, humanity wasn't just fighting a battle. They were waging psychological warfare. And as the strike force made its final preparations, across the galaxy, millions held their breath. The bait and the trap. To pull the hegemony's fleets away from Zereth Prime, Admiral Tal devised an ingenious deception. Using false intelligence leaks and carefully staged skirmishes, humanity and its growing alliance convinced the hegemony that a full-scale rebellion was erupting in the Veldran sector. The hegemony, stretched thin and desperate to regain control, fell for it. Hundreds of warships were pulled away from their defensive positions around Zereth Prime, racing toward the rebellion that didn't actually exist. With the defenses weakened, the strike force moved in. The infiltration begins. Zereth Prime wasn't just a space station, it was a fortress. A colossal construct orbiting a dying star, it housed the hegemony's central command, intelligence archives, and, most importantly, its primary galactic communications hub. Taking it head-on was impossible. But that wasn't the plan. Using stolen access codes provided by Tal, a covert strike team, a mix of human operatives and alien resistance fighters slipped past the outer defenses aboard a disguised hegemony transport. Once inside, they had 3 objectives. 1. Seize the control center, cut off communications so the hegemony couldn't call for reinforcements. 2. Disable station defenses, prevent Zereth Prime's automated systems from retaliating. 3. Broadcast humanity's message, a declaration of defiance, live to the entire galaxy. But just as the infiltration team moved into position, everything went wrong. The hegemony's countermove. The hegemony may have been arrogant, but they weren't entirely blind. The moment the infiltration team breached the station, alarms blared across every deck. Hegemony shock troops, elite cybernetically enhanced warriors, poured into the corridors cutting off the strike team's escape routes. Worse, a hidden fleet of hegemony warships, stationed in deep space, emerged from hyperspace. The deception had worked. Most of the hegemony's forces had been lured away, but not all of them. A brutal space battle erupted, as Earth's fleet, outnumbered and outgunned, fought desperately to hold the line. The battle turns. Inside the station, the infiltration team fought through wave after wave of enemy forces. Hallways became kill zones, smoke and fire filling the air as human commandos and alien rebels pushed forward, inch by inch. But then, a breakthrough, Against all odds, the strike team breached the control center. Hacking into the mainframe, human engineers seized control of the station's systems. The once impenetrable fortress was now theirs. And then came the moment the galaxy would never forget. A message to the stars. Across every hegemony-controlled world, screens flickered to life. From the slums of industrial slave worlds to the halls of the hegemony's ruling council, the face of a human commander appeared. Earth had seized Zereth Prime. And with the hegemony's own communication network at their fingertips, humanity delivered its message. To every species crushed under the hegemony's rule, to every world burned for resisting, to every voice silenced by fear, your time has come. We are humanity. We do not bow. We do not kneel. We will never surrender. Rise. Fight. And together, we will end the hegemony. And across the stars, they did. The uprising begins. The impact was instantaneous. On occupied worlds, resistance cells that had waited in the shadows for centuries rose up overnight. Hegemony governors and military leaders, now seeing their empire crumbling, fled or defected. Even entire species within the hegemony's own ranks, ones forced to serve under Vashari rule, turned against their masters. The illusion of control was gone. And with the fall of Zereth Prime, the war had entered its final stage. The hegemony's last stand. But the hegemony was not yet defeated. With their empire burning and rebellions spreading like wildfire, the ruling council made their final, desperate move. A full-scale assault on Earth. The remnants of their once mighty fleet, every last warship they could muster, set course for Sol. They would wipe out humanity or die trying. And as Earth's forces prepared for the ultimate battle, one thing was clear. The fate of the entire galaxy would be decided in one final clash. The end was coming. And humanity was ready. The hegemony's final fleet had arrived. A storm of fire and metal, thousands of warships, planet cracker cannons, and invasion carriers, loomed at the edge of the Sol system. Their goal wasn't conquest. It was annihilation. If the hegemony couldn't rule the galaxy, they would make sure humanity didn't live to see its victory. But humanity had never been more ready. A united front. For the first time in galactic history, an alliance of the oppressed stood against the hegemony. The Zalari, once forced to fight for the Empire, now turned their war fleets against their former masters. The Korok war clans, long enslaved, joined Earth's ground defenses, their elite warriors eager for vengeance. Liberated AI fleets, once bound in servitude, now fought at humanity's side. This wasn't just Earth's battle. It was the battle to end an empire. The first strike. Humanity struck first. From the asteroid belt, hundreds of cloaked warships emerged, launching a devastating ambush. Stealth torpedoes and EMP pulses disabled the hegemony's command vessels. Entire capital ships fell silent, their crews scrambling as Earth's forces descended like wolves on wounded prey. But the hegemony was still overwhelmingly powerful. For every enemy ship destroyed, 10 more pushed forward. The fleet broke through Mars' defense line, advancing toward Earth. The siege of Earth. In orbit, Earth's orbital railguns fired relentlessly, unleashing hypervelocity slugs capable of tearing dreadnoughts apart. Fighter swarms weaved through the battlefield, outmaneuvering the hegemony's bulky warships. But the enemy kept coming. Hegemony drop pods rained from the sky, slamming into major cities. Entire continents became war zones as human soldiers, alien rebels, and civilians fought in the streets. In New York, resistance fighters lured enemy walkers into ambushes, toppling them with explosive traps. In Moscow, armored battalions held the line, mech suits battling towering hegemony war machines. In Tokyo, cyber warfare teams hacked into enemy drones, turning them against their masters. The battle was everywhere. Humanity was outnumbered, outgunned, but never outmatched. #### the Leviathan rises. Then came the Leviathan. A dreadnought the size of a small moon, bristling with planet cracker cannons. It tore through Earth's defenses, unstoppable. If it fired, Earth would die in a single shot. #### the last gambit. The fleet couldn't stop it. But maybe, someone inside could. A strike team, human and alien operatives, boarded the Leviathan in a suicidal mission. Fighting through the corridors, they raced toward the reactor core. Plasma fire erupted around them. One by one, they fell, until only 3 remained. At the last moment, they reached the core, and set it to overload. There was no time to escape. With a final transmission, the lead operative, a battle-scarred human named Captain Elias Ward, spoke his last words. For Earth. For the fallen. For freedom. The Leviathan detonated, a supernova of fire and steel. The shockwave obliterated the enemy fleet, sending hegemony warships crashing into one another. The tide had turned. #### the end of an empire. With their last fleet shattered, the hegemony's forces collapsed. The remaining ships fled, their will to fight broken. On hegemony-occupied worlds, news of the Leviathan's destruction sparked full-scale revolts. The last remnants of the empire crumbled. Humanity had done the impossible. Not just for themselves. For the entire galaxy. But even as the fires of war burned out, one question remained. What came next? The war was over. Across the galaxy, the once mighty hegemony was no more. Its fleets shattered, its leaders dead or in hiding, and its vast empire, built on the backs of enslaved species, *** collapsed into dust ***. For the first time in millennia, the stars were free. But victory did not mean peace. #### the price of freedom. Earth had survived, but barely. The Leviathan's destruction had saved the planet, but at a terrible cost. Half of Earth's orbital defenses were in ruins. Entire cities lay in rubble. Billions mourned the fallen. In the war's aftermath, chaos threatened to take hold. Former hegemony worlds, now without rulers, descended into anarchy. Warlords seized power. Old feuds reignited. And all eyes turned to humanity. To the species that had done the impossible. To the small, defiant world that had toppled the galaxy's greatest empire. #### the summit on Zereth Prime. A month after the war, the leaders of the liberated worlds gathered on Zereth Prime, the former capital of the hegemony. Once a symbol of oppression, the fortress world now stood as the birthplace of something new. The galaxy's future. Representatives from 100 species stood in the Grand Hall, some still wary, some hopeful. The tension was thick. Who would lead now? Would humanity claim the throne? Would they become the new rulers of the galaxy? In the center of the chamber, Admiral James Carter, leader of Earth's war effort, stepped forward. He looked over the gathered leaders, many of whom had once been Earth's enemies, and spoke the words that would change history. We did not fight to replace one empire with another. We did not bleed so another tyrant could rule. We fought so that no world, no species, will ever kneel again. Silence. Then whispers. Then cheers. Humanity did not seek domination. They sought unity. And so, on that day, the Zereth Accords were signed. For the first time in history, the galaxy stood as one. #### the dawn of the Federation. The Galactic Federation was born, not as an empire, but as a council of equals. Each world had a voice. Each species had a vote. And at the heart of it all was Earth, not as rulers, but as guides a beacon for those who had known only oppression. ### Legends and Legacy. Across the galaxy, the story of humanity spread. The warriors who had defied the impossible. The underdogs who had shattered a galactic empire. The rebels who had given hope to the hopeless. Some called them heroes. Others called them madmen. But all agreed on one thing. Humanity had changed the stars forever. And as the first ships of the new Federation set out, bringing aid to shattered worlds, rebuilding what had been lost, the message was clear. This was just the beginning. A new era had begun. And the galaxy would never be the same.